Amberlynn Reid is everyone's favourite influencer. You've heard of her, everyone's heard of her, I have certainly heard of her. She's known for multiple things, whether it's controversy, weight loss, weight gain, drama, questionable relationships, actual family members who are now going to war with her. Amberlynn Reid is just somebody that's known for pretty much a new thing every single day. And Amberlynn is somebody that I have regularly spoken about on this channel, but it does seem that it's been a few months since we last checked in with Amberlynn, and you know, the last time I did check in with Amberlynn, things weren't going too well, but you know, I've been speaking to a few friends on my podcast recently in particular, and we were discussing that, wow, Amberlynn's been doing really great recently. She's been getting into no controversy, so let's check out what she's doing this— It's that time of the year, isn't it? Because yes, my friends, Amberlynn Reid has once again become the very forefront of YouTube drama. She has been getting involved in some of the craziest situations I think I've seen in a very long time. And I've seen a lot of people out there saying that this is the funnest gore world, or Amberlynn-verse, whatever you want to call it, has been in a very, very long time. Because yes, Amberlynn Reid right now, she is getting exposed for a multitude of things and being accused of a lot of very serious things, and that has now expanded into having public beef with actual biological family members, where she's also being exposed on that front. It's all going on in the Amberlynn Reid cinematic universe, and I would just like to say, strap yourselves in, my friend, because honestly, if you don't, you may go missing in Wisconsin. Or just make sure you lock your doors correctly so you don't accidentally scuttle out and run away forever. Because yes, there have been a lot of victims in the Amberverse, in particular Rarity the cat, God rest your soul, or at least I hope she has found somewhere to stay. I mean, it's a cat. Cats, they go into the system of where they just end up on your doorstep, so let's just hope for the best that Rarity has found a new home. And some of you may be a little bit confused to what I'm actually referring to here. Well, let me throw back to around 8 months ago. Because last year, you may remember, I uploaded a video titled Amberlynn Reid, the horrific feeder saga behind this weight loss YouTuber. Honestly, in hindsight, pretty terrible title. That's such a mouthful. I'm probably going to go with something different this time. But basically, in that video, I went through the saga of Amberlynn Reid supposedly now dating a feeder, someone who had a history of being on feeder websites, and Amberlynn went to the point of moving her entire life out of where she lived to go live with the feeder. And in the process, she took all of her animals, moved them across state to move in with this person. Amberlynn at the time claimed that this was just a temporary thing, but for most of the people in the audience, you could definitely see what Amberlynn was trying to do here. She was trying to speed things up quickly, she was trying to move in with the person, and it all ended in tragedy after Amberlynn's cat went missing, and Amberlynn had a breakdown on livestream because she just did not know what was going on with her cat. And all jokes aside here for a second, it was a very, very sad situation. Because yes, we can laugh and joke when it comes to a lot of drama of Amberlynn, but at the end of the day, this is a real living creature that was meant to be looked after, and it has gone missing and could potentially no longer be with us. It was genuinely a really difficult situation to navigate, but I think everybody kind of came to the conclusion that yes, Amberlynn was somewhat in the wrong for the situation. She shouldn't have just dragged all of her pets with her across state. If this was a temporary thing, she should have actually just got a pet sitter or a family member to look after her cats. And overall, this saga just made a lot of people look even more negatively at a person that already had an extremely negative perception about them on social media. But yes, like I said, that was around 8 months ago now. A lot has changed since then, and honestly, Amberlynn since that saga had not really been involved in any drama whatsoever until, as you saw, recently. Because yes, today we are pretty much doing the sequel to this video, as once again the story of Emily/Tommy and Amberlynn has come into conversation. Now, if you didn't know, Tommy/Emily is the ex-partner of Amberlynn Reid's, and Tommy/Emily, who I'm going to refer to as Emily for the rest of this video, was Amberlynn's feeder partner that was also in the forefront of this controversy controversy in 2024, and around half a year ago, these two supposedly broke up and the love story came to an end, mainly due to all of the controversy surrounding them. Well, at least they had broken up according to Amberlynn. You see, a lot of people out there for the last few months have been speculating that Amberlynn and Emily were still in a relationship, and actually Amberlynn was now keeping it secret due to the fact that there was so much controversy surrounding Emily, who was being accused of being a feeder and plenty of other severely negative things. And look, guess what? I hate to say it, because honestly, I can be a little bit critical of the people that regularly speak about Amberlynn Reid, but yeah, they were right. Because on the 1st of August 2025, the sequel to this story began when Amberlynn Reid's ex, Emily, posted this photo on Instagram with the caption, "With how hot it is lately, it's wild to think snowflakes will be back before we know it." And yeah, if you're even somewhat involved in the Amberlynn Reid lore, you will know that this post was obviously a very, very cryptic post. People in the comment section were saying whether this is cryptid or just what it looks like, you got this girl, and then some were actually critical of this post, stating, "It's really sad if you're doing this. Why can't you just go your separate ways in silence? So unnecessarily messy, and once on the internet, it will never leave you." Everyone kind of realized that something was going on here between Amberlynn and Emily, but to the non-chronically online people in my audience, allow me to explain what the whole cryptic part of this post is about. You see, a lot of people basically claimed that Emily was referring to the YouTuber Mr Snowflake, who is a YouTuber like myself that has covered Amberlynn quite extensively over the last few years. So basically, people were kind of speculating that, well, Emily had now turned against Amberlynn, they maybe went through a messy breakup in silence, and now Emily was going to speak to Mr Snowflake. Now look, I understand firstly that this could be perceived in two different ways. Maybe Emily has a very valid story that she needs to tell, or maybe Emily is trying to do an Amberlynn and get attention via controversy. Now I'm not gonna lie to you people, I think a lot of people in the Amberlynn-verse do this. I think if you go to date or befriend Amberlynn Reid in a public setting, you obviously know what you're getting yourself involved with, and you know that it's obviously going to be documented by a bunch of YouTubers, by a bunch of people on Reddit and other forums out there. So yes, I can understand why people were very critical of Emily here, and in particular, I covered this situation on my podcast, and on that podcast, I was very critical of Emily, stating, well, Emily has also got a very bad history, and I don't think we should forget that. But you see, Emily did actually seemingly have a valid story that she wanted to tell the world. Because yes, Mr Snowflake actually took to his second channel and posted updates. Been speaking to Emily, obviously, been a very hard listen. Well, over text, but you know what I mean. We spoke about the emotional and physical from Amber. We discussed Rarity the cat. She sent me over screenshots of messages Amber sent her on the day Rarity went missing. Amber, I think you better make a quick video and sort your Rarity missing story out. We discussed the breakup and post-breakup. I'll make a simple video as soon as I get the chance and get the video up as soon as possible. I'll keep you all updated. Cheers, everyone. Kiss. And yeah, because of this post, it really did start to feel that Ambergeddon was finally here. People in the community were getting ecstatic about this news. Finally, we were going to hear the truth about what happened between Emily and Amberlynn, and possibly something to do with the missing cat. And also, is Emily a feeder? Is she not a feeder? Who knows what's going to come from this? One could say, in the words of 2018 and 2019 YouTube, the tea was getting hot. Because it seemed that what had taken place between Amberlynn and Emily was not actually a beautiful, wonderful relationship like Amberlynn presented it last year. In fact, it seems that these two had a lot of hostilities that were about to be exposed. And it's clear that Amberlynn herself knew that something was coming. She saw this post and she panicked because obviously she has a previous relationship with Emily. Emily has a lot of text messages, Emily has a lot of personal experiences, and Amberlynn knew that something was going to come out. Now, naturally, how do you think Amberlynn responded? Do you think she actually just rationally waited to see what was going to come so she could put together a comprehensive response? Or do you think option number two, Amberlynn jumped onto a YouTube live stream where she went onto the live stream very incoherently in a breakdown manner and just completely embarrassed herself. Because my friends, obviously, it's option 2. Because a day later after that post, Amberlynn went live on YouTube with the stream titled, "We have been in a relationship the whole time." Wow. It's almost like everyone, literally everyone, knew this and predicted this, and obviously we were telling everyone that, yes, they are in a relationship. I don't know why she's making this title like it's this big, wonderful reveal, like, oh guys, you didn't know this, it was a big secret. Amberlynn, I feel like this was more of a secret to yourself than it was to us. This whole thing is getting a little bit Netflix drama-y for my liking at this point, but yeah, this live stream was definitely a cataclysmic mess for Amberlynn. And yeah, the first thing she did in this live stream was confirm that the two had been in a relationship, but it definitely wasn't a very sweet and wonderful relationship like we originally thought. Wow. Who'd have thought dating somebody that was on a feeder website isn't a good idea?
I literally hate even referring to her as Tommy because we all know. But still, I have that little tiny bit of respect that's still there. But we haven't been together this whole time. This whole time. And I have seen the things that she has said to me, about me. Whether that be in comments, whether that be in private messages where it finally is like revealed. She had a whole Reddit where she made fun of my body.
So yeah, it's all very dramatic, it's all very serious, and Amberlynn is naturally devastated about what's happened here, but there have been a few things revealed by Amberlynn. And Violet in the comment section was spot on when she said, "I don't have anyone in real life to speak about this, OMFG." And yes, if you were to go up to a coworker, a friend or family member and state, "Hey, have you seen the latest Amberlynn Reid drama? It's about her crying about actually being with her secret partner who was actually a feeder and possibly even led to somebody passing away." Don't do that. But pretty much, the crux of this live stream is seemingly Amberlynn has been betrayed by Emily multiple times. Apparently, Emily was going on to Reddit pages, spreading very, very nasty things about Amberlynn, and obviously, that would not be a good thing, but there is also one more important thing to note here. Because yeah, Amberlynn is like, oh yeah, we've been together this entire time.
But we haven't been together this whole time.
And again, like I said before, do you think we're stupid? We know this, buddy. We knew this 8 months ago. But then after this, she goes on to speak about how Emily was just constantly just being terrible to her, betraying her at every single possible opportunity. And again, like I said previously, oh my god, geez, what a surprise. The person that was on a feeder website wasn't exactly ideal relationship material.
It's like anything that happened in Wisconsin, like any argument that happened in Wisconsin was due to a betrayal that I found out that she was doing right next to me. Literally right next to me. Imagine having BPD, unregulated, unmedicated, and finding out just betrayal. Like you go crazy. Like you genuinely go crazy. And I have done nothing but stick up for her. And that is like the most pathetic thing in the world is I have done nothing but stick up for her.
So yeah, there's a lot going on here. In particular, a theme of betrayal. It's basically Amberlynn Reid Game of Thrones at this point. But what's particularly interesting is at this point of time of Amberlynn saying all of this, Emily hadn't actually said anything. Amberlynn was on this live stream ranting about Emily, calling her a betrayer and all that sort of stuff, but at the end of the day, we actually didn't know what had been accused of Amberlynn. We didn't know what was going to be said because Emily had been silent this entire time bar one cryptic post. Amberlynn was just going out here trying to reverse Uno this situation and make Emily look out to be the terrible person. But I can't lie to you, that's very suspicious when the person who you're speaking about, who you're saying is going to expose you, hasn't actually said anything yet. And the fact you're getting onto a live stream and doing all of this in the way you are, to me, is absolutely wild. I don't understand the need to air your dirty laundry like this to the internet. Amberlynn knows that this is going to be taken by her community and spoken about at large. She knows commentary channels are going to speak about it at large. She knows everyone is going to speak about this stuff. And it does kind of go into the whole craziness thing that I've been speaking about quite regularly in these videos. I think a lot of people in the Gore world or Amberlynn cinematic universe are genuinely nuts. I think all of these people need severe help. Even some of the people that necessarily haven't done much wrong in this situation, I think there's a lot of crazy people in this story, and I think honestly, it would benefit all of them if they just got off the internet and dealt with their personal issues in a very normal, private way. Because what Amberlynn is doing here is not healthy. I don't think I need to be an expert to really diagnose the fact that this is a very unhealthy way of dealing with your relationship gripes. But at the end of the day, the person who looks the most unhealthy in this situation is Amberlynn, because Emily hasn't actually said anything yet, like I said, but she is just self-destructing. But a big thing a lot of people will point out is the fact that, well, Amberlynn loves this secretly. She knows that these dramas are only going to get her more popular and ultimately lead to more money in the bank. Because, for example, this live stream has 166,000 views, and now compare that to one of her more normal, shorter videos, she was getting around 60,000 views. And that 60,000 view video was around 16 minutes long, and then compare it to a 2-hour live stream with 166,000 views, she is going to be earning a lot more money via that live stream. And I think that's a big reason so many people are critical of Amberlynn, because most people out there can see that she knows what she is doing in this situation. And the main proof behind that is in the next part of her stream, she actually states that she is not going to go into detail about the things in this story.
Like, I'm not gonna sit here and go into detail whatsoever.
So let me get this straight. You've started a live stream, you've titled it Clickbaiting Your Relationship Drama, you've on stream criticized your ex-partner, you're spouting all of your relationship issues, getting all of your dirty laundry out there, but you're not going to go into detail. This is what I mean about people stating that Amberlynn loves this. This is what I mean where I state that she obviously is doing this for a financial incentive, because it very much seems that she is trying to drag this out for as long as possible to get donations, to get monetization, to get attention. And this is why I struggle to have much empathy for Amberlynn Reid in this particular scenario, because I think it's very obvious what she is doing here. I feel like I'm being rage baited by Amberlynn Reid. Tell me why you are here and tell me what you are doing. But then the insanity only continues when you find out halfway through this live stream that Emily and Amberlynn are texting during this live stream. Now, these texts aren't exactly happy and cheerful. In fact, they're completely negative towards each other. But at the end of the day, they clearly are still in communication, and that kind of comes into the whole mental thing that I mentioned earlier. They have the ability to speak privately on their phones to each other, yet they are speaking on their phones to each other, and then Amberlynn is then immediately leaking it on her live stream, where she specifically said she is not going to go into detail.
And sorry, my thoughts and feelings are literally genuinely all over the place right now, and it's like I'm sitting here having to debate with myself, like, yes, share that, yes, don't, and I just got a text from her saying, "I'm going to release the video then to prove how you are." I'm literally half naked in that video, so please don't. I would appreciate that. That was me in a BPD meltdown. I'm literally half naked.
So yeah, what's being referred to here is pretty much Amberlynn and Emily are texting each other, and Emily texts Amberlynn that she's going to release a video of Amberlynn doing things that would reflect Amberlynn's true colors and ultimately expose her. Amberlynn's first response is, hey, don't show this because I barely have any clothes on. Which of course is a valid response. But then there's the whole BPD meltdown mention. Now I don't claim to be an expert on BPD, but something that I've noticed with Amberlynn Reid in particular during the cycle is that she'll get involved in another bit of controversy. There'll be another specific thing that she said that gets herself in more drama, and she will say, sorry guys, I'm having a BPD meltdown. Now I understand mental illness can be a very messy thing, and it can actually lead to us, maybe being in a way that we probably shouldn't, but at the same time, it's not necessarily a justification for being outright terrible to other people. I think there's a lot of people in my comment section that can go there and state, hey, they've got BPD, but they would not use that as an excuse for acting terrible towards someone. And somebody even went into the comment section and pointed out, Amberlynn's BPD is unregulated and unmedicated because of her own personal choices. And yeah, I'm not trying to be mean here, but Amberlynn clearly makes a lot of money from this drama, and if she wanted to, she could easily afford to go and see a doctor about this, but obviously she chooses not to. She chooses to go the unmedicated route and the unassisted route, which is her personal choice, but I don't think you can then use it as an excuse for your actions in the past. But sadly, that's something that she does quite a lot in this situation. But then moving on in this live stream, upon Amberlynn realizing that Emily is going to actually come out and expose her, she then decides to try and reverse the situation even more by then attempting to expose Emily.
We're sitting in Emily's truck. I would sit in the passenger seat and Emily would sit in the driving seat, and she would smoke cigarettes. And we would sit there, listen to music, whatever it may be. She does not smoke in her house, which I fully get. So we would sit there for hours and she's just smoking cigarettes. And why go live to say all this? Because it's finally my turn. It's finally my turn. It's finally my turn.
I love that she's saying it's finally my turn, like Emily has actually said anything bar one cryptic post at this point. That's the hilarious thing. She's come on here being like, oh yeah, I'm gonna be speaking my truth. Emily hasn't really said anything up until this point of time. I don't know where she's got this whole, oh yeah, I'm finally gonna speak my truth. Amberlynn, you've already made multiple videos about all of the stuff to do with Emily. Just in the past, you were defending her, and now you're going on the offensive. You've had plenty of time to speak your truth on your YouTube channel where you can upload a video whenever you want. I'm not saying that she shouldn't do this, but at the end of the day, I think it's quite funny that you're using this as an excuse.
So since we're both sitting on our phones in her truck, I saw her talking to this girl named Andrea. Oh, don't worry, this is about Rarity. This is about how it all happened. I see her talking to the girl named Andrea. And flashback 2 weeks prior, I saw her talking to Andrea and they were talking badly about me. And I was like, who's Andrea?
Who is Andrea? You've only mentioned her 4 times in 10 seconds. Can you tell us who she is?
Obviously. And she tells me it's a girl from work. So my gut feeling tells me that's a lie, and I do not believe it whatsoever.
The healthiest sign of any relationship of when your partner says to you, oh yeah, I'm texting my friend from work, and you get the gut feeling that they're lying to you, and this could be a very, very terrible situation. Now, I think what Amberlynn is saying here clearly reflects the fact that Amberlynn has a lot of unresolved issues with personal relations that she should probably go and seek a therapist for, but instead she decides to get on a live stream and let everyone know that, oh yes, when I get in a relationship with somebody, I immediately will take issue with the fact that you have personal friendships with people from work. But also, I should just say, even if Amberlynn was right in this situation and Emily was doing something terrible with somebody else from work, Amberlynn, you chose to get in a relationship with somebody that was on a feeder website. The entire internet were warning you about this, but instead you said, we're all wrong, Emily is amazing, and we should just all stop talking about it. Now who's talking about it? You. You are basically stating what everyone warned you about a very, very long time ago.
I do not believe it whatsoever. So I just let it go. Okay, then it was a week ago. I mean, at the time we're sitting in that truck, I'm talking about Rarity Night, okay? Please just give me a second. Thank you, Daisy. I see Andrea again. And I was like, why do you keep like talking badly, being suspicious with this Andrea girl? Oh, just this girl from work. And I was like, well, can you stop talking badly about me? Blah 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 blah.
So yeah, what seemingly was going on here, according to Amberlynn, is that Emily had seemingly befriended a hater of Amberlynn, and she was now leaking information to this girl about Amberlynn. But what kind of confuses me here is Amberlynn clearly knew what was going on, according to her. She has accurate details, according to her, about these terrible forms of betrayal, yet she chose to remain in this relationship. This is something that you're going to realize during all of this. She's going to be stating how she had the ample opportunity to get away from this person, but she chose to remain getting, I guess, betrayed or micro-cheated on. Amberlynn will even go on to confirm that either of the two weren't scared of each other, according to Amberlynn, and it very much did kind of seem that in this situation, Amberlynn had the opportunity to break up with this individual, but she just chose to remain in this relationship, which just kind of confuses me, because why would you stay with somebody that's betraying you in the form that you're speaking about here? To me personally, it all seems a little bit desperate, it all seems a little bit coordinated, and it all feels that Amberlynn is trying to get ahead of something that is about to come out. And that is only signified even further when later on in this live stream, Amberlynn starts to get into some very serious allegations when Amberlynn speaks and denies physical altercations.
I have never hit Emily. I have never hit Emily ever.
So yes, this was her first denial of these allegations that Mr. Snowflake referenced in his community post, and obviously, she was never going to admit to these things. But then a bit shortly after this, Amberlynn did actually go into detail about these allegations and actually explained it from her personal experience. Well, she goes on to tell this really weird story about how she was on a rug, slipped on it, and landed on top of Emily, and because of that, Emily is now using that story as a way to push this allegation against Amberlynn. But then at the same time, remember the context of the fact that Emily hasn't actually said anything about this yet, and Amberlynn is the only one speaking about these things. It very much seems that Amberlynn is not just trying to get ahead of things, but she's just outright exposing herself here. Because before I play this clip, remember, this is from the personal perspective of Amberlynn Reid. This is her biased story, and this is the best possible way she could present these allegations that are going to come.
Like, I'm not gonna lie, we both like have ADHD and ADHD piles, so her room would get like, she would have her pile of dirty clothes, and she also had a rug and like a huge dog bed, and then I had Twinkie's dog bed, so it was a very crowded place. And during in the frantic of it all, I remember I tripped over her rug. I landed into her. She fell on the ground. And I'm like, as that's happening, I'm trying to get her, like, as she's falling. I go to grab her off the ground.
I mean, I'm not going to lie to you all. This seems like a bit of a Tom and Jerry Disney-esque story of where, oh, I just slipped on the rug and I went flying and I landed on her and now she's saying it's a crime. It's a bit convenient, all of it, isn't it? And Amberlynn, I'm going to give you some advice. If you ever deal with a situation like this again in the future, do not go down this route of where nothing out there publicly right now is out there about this specific story that you're worrying is going to come out. So rather than jumping onto your live stream and telling everyone about it yourself to get ahead of it, just do the mature thing and wait it out, and maybe it will come out, maybe it won't. But what she's doing here is just absolutely ridiculous, because it's clear that she's actually admitting that there was a possibility of an altercation taking place between Emily and Amberlynn, but she's trying to reframe it in the best possible way without actually denying that it happened. I don't know, Chief, when there isn't an outright denial of this thing actually happening and it's just a reframing, to me it seems a little bit suspicious. But yeah, that pretty much takes us to the ending of this live stream, and you can see the main problem is with these streams is that you will get clickbaited in with a very big and wonderful title, and then when you actually watch the live stream, the reality is 95% of it is just Amberlynn crying and rambling, and then maybe every 30 minutes she will actually drop some valid information. But naturally, with how this stream went down, the community were very, very angry, but also just confused with what was going on here, because at the end of the day, the only person at this moment of the timeline that had actually said anything significant was, well, that one post by Mr. Snowflake, which really didn't go into any detail, and Amberlynn herself, who just went on a rambling, messy rant for 2 hours straight. And it was clear the community were not very happy with all of this. Somebody commented down below stating, "I love how Amberlynn can barely stay on an hour on a regular live stream, but when she's doing damage control, she can stay on for 2.5 hours. Which, yeah, is, again, a very suspicious thing. Why are her live streams, when it's just regular content, only an hour long, but when she has to get damage control out there before anything's come out, it's 2.5 hours long? Quotation of, "I've never been with somebody so scary. Amber, everyone warned you about her on day one. Surprise, surprise, the audience was right the entire time, and you called us crazy the whole time." Yeah, Amberlynn was getting outright cooked, and honestly, justifiably so. I think a lot of people in Amberlynn's audience have been gaslit for a very long time. If you saw the original part to this saga, you will remember the videos of Amberlynn being like, "Hey, Emily's this amazing person, you're all absolutely wrong about her," but now suddenly we're all justified in what we said previously, and everybody actually is in the right about her. But if you thought this was the end, no, my friends, this is just the beginning. Because a day later, Amberlynn, of course, jumped onto another YouTube live stream in a stream titled "Get Ready With Me," and it is 2 hours and 13 minutes long. Now, I know that there are a lot of unfortunate stereotypes out there about women taking long to get ready before they go out, but honestly, I don't want to play into it. But 2 hours and 13 minutes to get ready does kind of take the piss. But yes, Amberlynn was streaming again, she was chatting again, and of course, Emily was mentioned again. Because around 3 minutes into this live stream, Amberlynn starts to try and expose Emily for her feederism, which is just absolutely baffling to me, considering I remember making my video about the whole feeder saga, and Amberlynn was so adamantly against everything in that saga, stating that no, we're all wrong, and Emily is this beautiful, wonderful figure. But now we're in the right?
Why did you say the Tumblr had the worst things imaginable when it was just bigger women, fat phobic of you? I guess I can go into detail as much as I don't want to. Um, it was naked women that were bigger than me, and the first photo I saw, which the one that is engraved in my mind, I don't even want to say it. Mm. I'm not going to be forced actually into saying things I don't want to say.
Oh my god, you're the one who started this live stream to answer questions about your personal relations. What do you mean that I'm not going to be forced into answering questions? Amberlynn, you are here in another 2-hour live stream, and we know what you're doing. This is 3 minutes into a stream. She obviously is going to speak about it, but she wants to long it out for as long as possible. But yes, to cut a long story short, Amberlynn in this live stream basically confirms that yes, Emily was a feeder, and we were all absolutely right. Is there an apology? No, we don't get an apology for anything here, and Amberlynn just tries to, I guess, act like she's been right this entire time. Which is interesting, because if you go and watch my previous video, it seems that she has shifted on this whole thing quite a bit. But yeah, basically what she was saying in that clip that I just played is that, shock surprise, Emily's social media algorithm was tailored to following a lot of larger women. Hey, if only there was thousands of individuals out there and multiple YouTubers covering the story that told you and provided screenshots that, wow, this woman was on feeder websites, had previous relations with larger women, some who are not with us anymore. And this is what I find interesting about Amberlynn, because if she just listened to some of our advice, then she'd honestly be in a much better position, but sadly we know she absolutely will never do that. But again, going back to what I was mentioning previously, at this point of the live stream, Emily still had not said anything about Amberlynn Reid, which again is very confusing, because Amberlynn is on live stream speaking about her again, and it very much does just seem that she is absolutely self-destructing once again, which around 9 minutes into the stream she does do so when she actually admits to some things, but describes it as reactive.
This isn't about helping your case. You're leaving in a relationship. Don't let people tell you what you need to say or not say. Yeah. Like, and you know what's crazy? I've like heard about and I'm gonna go ahead and say, like, the way that I would react, like, my reaction to, like, the way that she would treat me, or my reaction to the lies, my reaction to the betrayal, my reaction to the secrets, my reaction to the emotional, etc., can absolutely be seen as a 100%. And I am not going to sit here and deny those things. Like, I am going to be 100% upfront. I would become unhinged when she would hurt me.
I mean, I'm getting major Davo vibes here, which is actually quite incredible considering I haven't actually heard Emily's side of the story yet. To get Davo vibes from somebody who is defending themselves against a story that isn't out there is wild, and in my opinion, kinda does just show that maybe Amberlynn is in the wrong in this situation. Because if I was coming at this from a completely neutral perspective here, and I didn't know who these individuals were, but I did see that one of them was getting ahead of a story by coming out and admitting to being reactively horrific to somebody, when that somebody hasn't actually given their story that that person is combating against, I would be quite suspicious. Amberlynn at this point of time now had 4 hours worth of live streams where she comes against Emily, and Emily had not said anything. And it's just really confusing, because why would you feel the need to do all of this to combat these things if there wasn't even anything to combat? And the thing is Emily does actually agree with me. Because in response to everything, Emily jumped onto her Instagram and had this to say: Amberlynn's latest accusations and her attempts at damage control are genuinely unhinged, and for those of you supporting her and believing her, congratulations, you were just manipulated by Amberlynn Reid. Join the club. If she had nothing to hide, why is she always rushing to clarify specific things I haven't even spoken about yet? How does she already know what situations I'm talking about with Snowflake if there wasn't anything she should be held accountable for? She knows exactly what I'm going to say because she knows exactly what really happened. Which, to be fair to Emily, is a completely fair point to make. How does Amberlynn know all of these specific details if these things didn't exactly happen? Because Emily has not said anything up until this point of time, so realistically it seems like very coincidental guesswork from Amberlynn Reid. And all of this led up to finally Emily speaking up in a text interview with Mr Snowflake on his second channel. Now, there is a lot of information that they go through in this interview. There are so many screenshots, and I completely recommend you going over to Mr Snowflake's second channel to go and watch this video to get the full context, and I'm mainly going to be focusing on the relationship between Amberlynn and Emily. They also do go into things such as talking about Rarity the cat, but today I mainly want to focus on Amberlynn and Emily. And a massive question surrounding their relationship is actually the very beginning of everything. How did they get together? How did they magically move in together? And what really transpired during that period of time where there seemed to be so much chaos and drama?
During my first visit to Oklahoma, things actually seemed to go really well. But it was a short trip, and we were still in that honeymoon phase. It was during my second visit that things started to feel off. She would get irritated if I checked my phone or responded to messages that weren't about her or focused on her. That visit also happened right after she posted who I was, and the doxing stuff that followed, so tensions were high, so I kind of brushed it off at the time, thinking it was just stress. But everything really started to change when Amber came to visit me. She was originally only supposed to stay for a week or two, tops. It wasn't going to be some extended thing. We were planning on probably around 2 weeks. I think she stayed like 3 months, wasn't it? 3 or 4 months? 2 weeks, because that's when I'd be off work and able to take her home. But by day two, I've only seen these, was it last night? I haven't slept for ages, didn't I? I've only seen these once as I was talking to Emily. So I've probably forgotten most of it. Because that's when I'd be off work and able to take her home. But by day 2 of her being at my house, things already started to shift. It was weird how high-strung she was that early on. Day 2. I don't know what shifted, or it was the change in environment, but she just acted off. She really didn't like that I had a life outside of her. I mean, I work 12-hour shifts. I have a family, friends, pets, a house to take care of. I have responsibilities, but anything that wasn't about her felt like an inconvenience to her, and she made that very clear. Well, by day 2, Jesus. I'd get home from a 12-hour shift completely exhausted from a stressful job, and she'd get upset if I wanted to go straight to bed.
So yeah, according to Emily, it seems that Amberlynn from the very beginning of their relationship was extremely controlling, to the point of not actually wanting Emily to give attention to anybody else other than Amberlynn Reid. And to be honest with you, am I really shocked that Amberlynn Reid is somebody that demands full attention? No, I'm not. If you followed Amberlynn Reid for years, I think it's not really a surprise that this is happening in yet again another relationship. And with that, I want to refer to a comment that I found down below where somebody said, even if you don't like Emily, Amberlynn has had like 3 ex-partners who have reported the same things, which absolutely is the case. And this is something that Mr. Snowflake will show you during his video, where he'll compare some of the things Emily is saying to him to clips of previous partners of Amberlynn stating very similar things. But then moving on, Emily goes on to speak about how Amberlynn would not let Emily speak because she was that demanding of her attention, and her controlling nature seemed to be getting progressively worse as their relationship continued.
She told me that if I wasn't going to finish the conversation, which was basically her going on and on about how I didn't love her and all this other crap, then said, fine, if I can't have peace from being able to have this conversation, then you aren't going to either. She would then stand next to the bed I was sleeping in and intentionally keep me up all night. I felt like this happened every time she knew I was going to work. Like she was intentionally keeping me up because she didn't like that I wasn't home instead of at work. Emily again? Yeah, this stuff was happening more and more frequently. And then I say, sounds like she didn't want you to work and just spend all day at home with her. I'm guessing she used BPD as an excuse for her behaviour. How did I know that? She 100% used your BPD. Her BPD as an excuse. That's what's frustrating me the most.
Imagine having BPD, unregulated, unmedicated, and finding out just betrayal. Like, you go crazy. Like, you genuinely go crazy.
Anytime she'd have one of her tantrums, she wouldn't take any accountability and say it's because she has BPD. And she'd be like, I'm not trying to be mean, I'm just trying to tell you how I feel. When she would literally scream at me about something, like taking 4 minutes longer than I said I would.
Did you really set a timer? I did a couple times. Yes.
Taking 4 minutes longer than I said I would. When I went outside to smoke. Alright, I told her she can't use that as an excuse if she refuses to do anything to help herself to get better. She made a lot of false promises of getting into therapy. She told me in so many different occasions that she was signed up and she never went. I remember a video of her saying, oh yeah, I found a therapist here in Wisconsin.
So I have actually found a psychiatrist / therapist who I'm going to be speaking to. I'm going to be calling. I have not called yet. I have discovered them. I have found them. I know about them and they know nothing about me yet.
And this is me. Yeah, I remember a video where she said she found a therapist in Wisconsin, and I thought, right, she's been awful to Emily, and this is her way of saying, hey, I'm going to get help. Because that's what she did with Beck a lot. I'll work on myself, I'll improve, and it didn't last very long.
So I was going to see a BPD therapist when I was in Wisconsin, but they were located in Wisconsin. And I was wasn't thinking at the time, and I do not live in Wisconsin. I live in Oklahoma. So now I have to re-find someone.
So yes, from the very beginning of Amberlynn and Emily's relationship, it appeared to be extremely toxic, which is quite ironic to say because Amberlynn 8 months ago was basically stating that her relationship with Tommy is absolutely incredible and anyone that dares to question it is absolutely a terrible person. And I'm pretty sure in my video from 8 months ago, I stated that when you get into a relationship where you rush into things, you move in together immediately, it's never actually a sign for a good future. I know that sounds a bit ridiculous, but I know so many people that have done that where you think you're in love, you think everything's amazing, and it can actually lead to some toxic stuff kind of spewing out from that. Not necessarily every single time going into the territory of Amberlynn Reid and Emily, but I think what is being said here isn't exactly a surprise. Amberlynn Reid is an incredibly toxic person, and she is somebody that absolutely needs as much attention as possible. But then around 14 minutes into Mr. Snowflake's interview, it starts to get into some more of the serious and darker parts of what transpired in Emily and Amberlynn's relationship, and I should just give a little bit of a warning, whilst there isn't that much detail here, it obviously could be a little bit triggering for people that have experienced, well, very toxic relationships.
The worst of the tantrums was actually the night before Rarity went missing. She saw me scrolling through my phone and there was women on my Instagram feed. She flipped out and said I was micro-cheating.
I got really upset. Obviously, anyone, even mentally well people would have been pissed, would have been so hurt. Probably marriages would have been divorced, like that type of deal, okay? So we get in a big fight, duh.
The argument escalated really fast. That was the first time she got physical with me. She threw things at me.
And she ends up throwing the can at my car. Made me mad.
You saying if I could hit someone, I would? Okay. I can throw this at someone's head.
Did Amber throw a glass at your mom? Yes, she did.
Like, the fuck? I could take this and throw it? I'm just not a physically a person.
I told her I was going to leave the room. She then grabbed my arm and dug her nails into my arm to the point of drawing.
All I remember is she got mad and she grabbed my arm. Dug her nails into my arm.
I tried pushing past her to get through the doorway and she pushed back into me and actually falling on top of me.
I remember I tripped over her rug. I landed into her. She fell on the ground. And I'm like, as that's happening, I'm trying to get her, like, as she's falling. I go to grab her off the ground. It didn't work out very well. She still landed on the floor. And then she started like hysterically, how come you pushed me? I'm like, what is actually happening? So she like, I don't know. It was this whole thing. And I was like, this cannot be real right now.
Now, ladies and gentlemen, before we go any further, let's just quickly play that reaction Amberlynn had to Emily's reaction to Amberlynn falling on her.
How come you pushed me?
Now, I feel like this reaction, regardless of what people think happened here, is genuinely quite an insane reaction, mainly down to the fact that, well, Amberlynn Reid weighs 500 pounds. That is the weight of 2 baby elephants, perhaps even more than 2 baby elephants. That is a very serious thing, and I don't know if you've seen a photo of Tommy, but she definitely isn't 500 pounds. So to have that person fall on top of you, regardless of if they're doing it deliberately or not deliberately, that could be a very serious thing. That could be very painful. And I think regardless of the context here, Emily has the full right to at least be a little bit upset.
How come you pushed me?
But also just how Amberlynn speaks and how she responds to these types of things is outright childish and to me personally, just pretty demeaning. I think she really does just want to make Emily feel pathetic and feel like she is only the person in the wrong in this situation, and it's only making me actually side with Emily the more I think about this. I recently recorded a podcast speaking about this like I mentioned earlier, and I was more on the fence in that podcast, but you know, just sitting there and thinking about it and seeing Amberlynn's reactions and how pathetic it truly is, it is quite frustrating, to be honest with you. But also, this part of the interview with Mr. Snowflake getting into the darker details of things really does explain to us why Amberlynn was so desperate to get ahead of absolutely everything. Because she knew this pushing story was going to come out. And like Emily said earlier, how would Amberlynn know about these specific stories and specific details that were going to come out without Emily speaking about them if they were not things that happened? And again, as I mentioned to you earlier, Amberlynn's version of events are obviously going to be the best possible way she could present them, and even then, they don't make her look good. Now later on in the video, screenshots were actually provided between Amberlynn and Emily at the time of these events taking place, and it appeared that Amberlynn was begging for another chance with Emily, and Emily was just outright saying she's done, and she's done this type of thing before. And then there was another screenshot of Amberlynn confirming that she actually does snap at Emily, and Emily states she is afraid to come home. I mean, I'm not gonna lie to you fellas, I'm not exactly a fan of Emily. In fact, I think she's done a lot wrong, but at the end of the day, I think this is really starting to go in her favor. It really does seem that things are lining up with her rather than Amberlynn. Now, as I mentioned before, a lot more was said between Mr. Snowflake and Emily in this interview, and I highly recommend you go and watch this video. But for the general gist of things going on here between Emily and Amberlynn, what you need to understand is that yes, Amberlynn is being accused of some very serious things, and according to Emily, Amberlynn outright seriously mistreated her. And I'd argue that this is probably the most serious situation that Amberlynn Reid has been involved in a very, very long time. Amberlynn has faced allegations in the past, but this really did feel a lot more real. A lot of people out there were talking about this. I saw TikToks about this. I saw people in the community that don't really speak about Amberlynn talking about this, and I was thinking to myself, wow, it really does kind of feel that Amberlynn has hit an all-time low. So I guess the question is well, how did Amberlynn respond to this? Did she deal with things privately? Did she, give a coherent response in a video providing screenshots and receipts where she clears her name because she's a YouTuber who makes YouTube videos? No. No, she got on another live stream. Yes, Amberlynn fired up OBS, she turned on that live button, and she went live, baby, because, actually giving a coherent response where you provide real detailed receipts and clearing your name is not in the question here, fellas. She's got to get paid. She's got to get that 2-hour live stream out where she gets the donations, the monetization, the attention, everything. Because at the end of the day, this is just another episode in the show for Amberlynn. Like, I truly am starting to feel that a lot of the people in this story, in particular Amberlynn, aren't actually treating what's going on in this story as very, very serious allegations that shouldn't just be conflated into YouTube drama. But yeah, she got onto this 2-hour live stream titled Reacting to My Ex-Girlfriend. Ah yes, my favorite type of reaction content where you react to your ex-partner's serious allegations. Now, Amberlynn was pretty combative in this live stream, which obviously doesn't really surprise me. There was a lot of serious things said about her, and Amberlynn did not want to lose in this situation. She was ready to go to war. And what's interesting is Amberlynn kicks this all off by actually stating that Emily lied. She lied about being afraid of Amberlynn, and there's a reason for this.
The sad part is most people do because they're either scared of her and don't want to deal with the drama. But I hit a point where I just couldn't sit back and watch her keep rewriting the truth. You are not afraid of me. How many times have I said that I'm afraid of you? You are not afraid of me because you've gotten public behind my... Amberlynn, calm down. I'm about to have a BPD meltdown here on live. Can you imagine? Literally, behind my back, you have said awful things about me. You've done it publicly knowing that I would see it. If you were afraid of me, you would have never done those things. Not only that, if you were afraid of me, you would have never verbally abused... I've said that word so many times. This is not going to be monetized. Like, you wouldn't have verbally... Is there another word for that? You wouldn't have verbally... me repeatedly to my face, in text, in Messenger, in this, in that, on FaceTime, on the phone. You wouldn't have done those things.
Yes, she would have. You seem to have a misunderstanding of what it actually is to be afraid of someone. and that's probably because everyone else is afraid of you. Honestly, it's quite hilarious because she's seemingly accidentally admitting to so much here whilst also denying things, and the thing she is admitting to here is her being controlling. Because in my opinion, in this live stream, she is still trying to control Emily's feelings, thoughts, and emotions. You're not scared of me. There's no way you could possibly be scared of me because you'd be doing this and doing that and doing this. It's like she just cannot accept that maybe someone feels a certain way about her. It's like, Amberlynn, you aren't Emily. You don't know what's going on in her brain. If she insults you, she can still be afraid of you. And I mentioned the term Darvo earlier on in this video, and that's pretty much what's happening here in my opinion. She's tried to flip everything Emily has said by being like, no, you're not scared of me. In fact, I'm scared of you. It just seems to be this very convenient Uno reverse card, which is quite weird considering we've heard Amberlynn in the past state how much she loves Emily and how much she thinks they have the best relationship ever. But if there was one person we didn't really hear much from in terms of how much they loved their relationship during the relationship, it was, well, Emily. Amberlynn was the person posting all of the content about them. Amberlynn was constantly speaking about Emily and saying how amazing it was to be with her. But Emily never really said that much during her relationship, and there's probably a reason why. Amberlynn, if you were truly scared of this person, why did you never say anything? Or why did you carry on posting content of her, telling everybody how much you love their relationship and actually defending the fact that Emily is a feeder? But in regards to posting about each other, it gets quite interesting after this because Amberlynn actually goes on to make the claim that the only reason she posted about their relationship was due to the fact that Emily pressured Amberlynn into posting about their relationship, which is quite hilarious considering that a year ago, a 2-hour video was uploaded detailing the timeline of every single Amberlynn Reid relationship. Did those ex-partners also pressure you into posting that amount of content about your relationships, where it got to the point of where people can do these 2-hour videos because of the content you have put out there? Because again, it seems a little bit coincidental.
But I was guilt tripped into revealing who she was. She would say things, I want people to know that you're taken. I don't want to be hidden. I don't want to be a secret. I was like stuck in a spot. I was terrified. I was like, I don't want to lose Emily. Like, I feel like I'm being forced into this, but I also don't want the internet to ruin it for me as well, because I knew exactly what was going to happen.
Now, firstly, I think I'll start this off by stating that yes, I actually do think that if you date Amberlynn Reid and you want to go public about it, you want the entire world to know about it, then yes, in my opinion, you most definitely are an attention seeker. There is no real reason that you would want people to know about your inside details of your relationship if you weren't at least just trying to slightly attention seek. So yes, I do think that Emily is definitely an attention seeker. There is a reason she got into a relationship with Amberlynn Reid. But at the end of the day, that doesn't change much. Because what Amberlynn is actually describing here in terms of a normal relationship outside of all of the context is actually a pretty normal thing. Someone saying to their partner, hey, why do you never post about me on your social medias but post about everything else? Why do you seem to be hiding me from your friends and family and other people on social media? That is a valid concern to have, in my personal opinion. Feeling like you're being hidden is never a nice thing. So taking away from the context of Amberlynn Reid, I would say that that is a pretty normal thing to request. I don't necessarily think it can be conflated into the allegations that we've gone through so far. And in fact, I think it's just another desperate attempt from Amberlynn Reid to make Emily look worse. Which is quite hilarious considering you didn't need to do that, Amberlynn. We were telling you how bad she was 12 months ago. But also, Amberlynn has been stating how she was reactive to the horrible mistreatment of her from Emily, and is this the horrible mistreatment? She asked you to post her on her social media? To me personally, that doesn't exactly seem like the most horrible thing on planet Earth. Like, maybe it can be a little bit annoying, I don't know, but at the end of the day, it seems like a pretty normal and regular request, even in the context of you being Amberlynn Reid. So realistically, you've not actually said much to combat anything here, but you have said you were reactively against her, which to me is just a bit of an admission to a lot of things. But later on in the stream, Amberlynn does actually start to go directly into some of these accusations, particularly the accusation of throwing things at Emily.
That was the first time she got physical with me. She threw things at me. What did I throw at you? You know what? Let me go right here. What did I throw at you, actually? I threw things at her? Wait, hold on. Wait, hold on. Let me go to the message. She threw things at me. I didn't throw a thing at you, Emily.
Now this is pretty interesting, because right here she outright denies the claim of being at all abusive. But then in a previous stream, as we saw, she admitted to being, well, reactive.
I've heard about reactive, and I'm gonna go ahead and say the way that I would react, my reaction to the way that she would treat me, or my reaction to the lies, my reaction to the betrayal, my reaction to the secrets, my reaction to the emotional, etc., can absolutely be seen as.
Yeah, I mean, things aren't really lining up here. Were you this thing, or were you not this thing? You can't really have both. You can't have your entire cake and eat it. But then after this, she actually does continue to get into the more reactive aspect of things, where she basically made the claim that the reason she did the things that she did is because Emily pushed her into this form of craziness, which is, again, something I think I've heard a lot of people say in response to allegations made against them. Oh, they made me crazy. Oh, they made me angry. Oh, they made me do these things. It's it's never really a good excuse, and it again comes under the D word that I mentioned earlier.
Oh my god, this is the part where I actually videoed my mom because it's psycho. Wait until you guys hear this part. Whew. She then grabbed my arm and dug her nails into my arm to the point of drawing. I have a picture that she later deleted months later. I have a picture of her. Okay, how do I start this? I want to dumb this down for dummies. I want to dumb this. Sorry, I haven't been explaining that. I haven't been reading super chats, but this one I just have to respond to. The way you're getting angry now shows how you were. Bitch, this is called reactive. This is called I'm reacting to trauma. I'm reacting to being gaslit. I'm finally, this is what they call when a narcissist constantly pushes and pushes and pushes someone, and then they finally, respond. It makes them look like the crazy one. It makes me look like I'm actually insane. You know what? I probably am. But why am I responding like this? Look at everything Emily has done. That's why. The pain that she has caused inside of me is so painful that I can't even begin to explain it. It is physically painful. It's mentally, it's emotionally. I feel like I'm going to be experiencing this for the rest of my life.
Again, a lot of things aren't exactly adding up here. Were you reactive? Did you do bad things? Did you not do anything bad? Were you innocent in this whole thing? To me, everything she is saying isn't lining up, and that's because she's gone along to a live stream, is completely incoherent, has no research, has no screenshots, has absolutely no real story, in my opinion, that's actually valid, because everything she's saying seems to be getting made up on the spot.
It makes me look like I'm actually insane. You know what? I probably am.
But after this, the insanity only continues, where she actually goes on to make the claim that the injuries Emily claimed that Amberlynn caused were actually fake injuries that Emily gave herself to make Amberlynn look bad. Yeah, this is really getting dramatic now.
So this is original photo, okay? And remember, there's gouges and blood, okay? Remember that part. Open viewer. Okay. I don't want you guys to see anything private, so let's try not to do that. This is her arm. This is her arm. Okay? Keep in mind she's wearing a maroon shirt. Okay? And then look at what she sends me a couple days later. Because she forgot that she took that photo and sent it to me. Oh, this is crazy. This is crazy. This is crazy. This is from a few days later. Keep that in mind. In this photo, you're going to see these weird marks that she created herself. Oh, Emily has marks all over her body. Like oh my God. See, I don't want to go into medical right now, but she has marks all over her body from something medical. I'm not getting into it. But she is wearing a completely different shirt. You're going to see it. It's like a black type of deal. And she creates these marks. Okay. Completely different day. What the hell? Why isn't it zooming? What the fuck is going on? Ugh! Why is it blurry? Okay, this is annoying. This is a completely different day, Cindy O. A completely different day where there's fresh marks. You guys said tap the screen. Hold on. Oh, there we go. What the fuck is that? 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 She faked nail marks days later. And I was like, how could you fake something like that? So then I literally sent her, because she didn't know that I saved yes, Grace. Yes. That was days later. Didn't you guys hear what she said in Snowflake's thing, that she was bleeding? Bitch, where?
Now, I'm not going to lie to you. I'm not trying to dismiss everything that Amberlynn Reid is stating. I genuinely want to hear her side of the story. And if she did come with some valid response to things, a coherent, scripted response, I would be completely open to listening to her. As I've said previously, I'm not a fan of Emily. I'm not somebody that necessarily even likes Emily, and I think she's done a lot of bad things. But there is a lot of problems of what Amberlynn is stating here, mainly down to the fact that it is completely incoherent rambling with no understanding of what is actually going on. Why is she showing us these screenshots? I guess she's trying to state that they're from a different date, and it seems that it's gotten worse onto another date, but at the same time, you're also showing us screenshots of the fact that, well, Emily did at least have a mark on her, and you are slightly admitting to making those marks. So again, it kind of feels like a little bit of a self-report. Now, maybe Emily did make the marks worse. I don't know, but it's the lack of presentation. It's the lack of actually coming at this in some form of coherent manner where we can understand what is going on. And that's why, again, I struggle to have empathy in this situation, because it doesn't really feel that Amberlynn is taking this situation seriously. It just seems to be, to her, another bit of drama of the week. And hey, maybe it is, but as an outsider, or somebody that doesn't cover Amberlynn every single week, I feel like we deserve the right to know what are these screenshots, present them correctly, tell us what is truly going on, and actually give a scripted response where you've had time to collect your thoughts. But honestly, the more I look into these 2-hour streams, and the more I hear from Amberlynn Reid and lose my mind listening to her ramble, I'm starting to think that there really aren't many thoughts in that brain. And overall, this stream did just go down absolutely terrible for Amberlynn Reid. It just made things 100 times worse. And as you can see in the comment section, she was getting continuously cooked. People were basically treating this like it was a circus and it had come to town, and this was our latest form of entertainment. Because honestly, that is what this is at this point. This is a reality television show featuring real human beings playing themselves. But then, my friends, things only get a little bit more mental, because a day later, of course, Amberlynn Reid jumped onto another live stream, but rather than combat against anything else, rather than fight against Emily, she got onto live and actually told the world that she still loves Emily. What?
am not a monster. I have a lot of empathy for Emily. I have a lot of sympathy. I have a lot of love.
Amberlynn, your brain is genuinely beyond and utterly combusted. It is beyond repair at this point. You have spent the last week telling me that you are scared of this person, that this person has been horrific to you, that you were desperate to get out of this relationship, that she is the worst of the worst of the worst, and now you love her? It's like a Game of Thrones plot twist, man. I don't know what is going on here. And after this, most of the comments were pretty much just speculating that, yeah, Amberlynn and Emily are seemingly back into a relationship now. And what makes this even more mental is, I mentioned at the beginning of this video that this is like the sequel to the beginning, but this is going to become a trilogy now, I think, because this is now getting ridiculous. Because from this moment on, the whole Emily and Amberlynn storyline seemingly has come to an end yet again. There really hasn't been that much things of significance said since Amberlynn announced that she still loves Emily. I don't know if they're dealing with things privately, I don't know if they're back in a relationship, but it really does just kind of feel that we're now in Lord of the Rings The Two Towers, but instead it's Amberlynn Reid way too many exes. But if you thought the story ended there, my friends, you're in for a surprise. Because now, Amberlynn Reid's own family members are speaking against her. Not just against her, but Amberlynn's biological aunt is coming out with receipts, exposés, interviews, talking to people in Gore World, Amberverse, who don't like Amberlynn Reid. And yeah, now we've got ex-partners coming against Amberlynn, ex-friends. But now we've got the fam. The family are now speaking up against Amberlynn. Because yes, meet Tammy Robertson, who is apparently the aunt of Amberlynn Reid. I don't know, man. How are we doing this? So firstly, Tammy gets herself involved in Gore World by lurking around in a bunch of chats apparently, but mainly from going onto her community page and making a post saying, debating who I should sip some tea with, and her comments were pretty much referring to people that speak about Amberlynn quite a lot. And what's interesting is immediately after this, Tammy went and posted a YouTube video, which was titled, Amberlynn Reid's delightful little feeder. Yes, even Amberlynn's family are seemingly against Emily. And yeah, this video is like a really weird edited video where she's posting a bunch of screenshots in a weird transition where it seemingly is Tammy confronting Emily about being a feeder and then having an argument with Emily about all of this. It's such a weird thing to read, but the conclusion you can kind of come to is that yes, the family of Amberlynn Reid seem to not exactly be a fan of Amberlynn's ex or now even possible girlfriend. But it doesn't really end there. In fact, this is just the beginning of a complete new saga, and that's why I said we're gonna need a trilogy. Because Oh Lordy It's Geordie, another YouTuber that speaks about Amberlynn, did a 3-hour live stream where Tammy actually called in. Yes, things are getting serious. We've got family members calling into talk shows. This is becoming an episode of Jeremy Kyle.
So obviously she's over there trying to say that I'm mentally unstable and this and that. Aren't we all in one way or another? But I haven't been on any medication for, 6-7 years. I did go through 16 years of counseling. But of course, who wouldn't being in my family? That's just being honest. So I've had my day. I have my diagnoses. I have my labels, but I am mentally sound.
I don't think that anything.
Cannot take the lies, the manipulation, the victim, the total absolute grossness of this feeder era. I just can't no more. I just can't. And the final straw really has been building up, and I've been saying it's coming. A person can only hold back so much. I'm human at the end of the day.
Honestly, I completely understand what she's saying here. I understand that it could be very frustrating to see a public figure who has done a lot of terrible things, but everybody else doesn't know about those things. I think that definitely could be a very frustrating thing. Whilst I do think most of the things in this story should have been held, behind closed doors, at the end of the day, Amberlynn isn't really someone that deals with things privately, so I'm not really shocked that her family members don't want to deal with this stuff privately anymore. And Tammy came onto this live stream saying a lot of terrible things about Amberlynn. In particular, a situation of where Amberlynn allegedly blackmailed Tammy by threatening to tell Tammy's abusive ex-husband that Tammy was having an affair. Now, obviously, affairs aren't really good things, but there is context here. Tammy was in a very, very bad marriage, and yes, she did have an affair, and even if you don't agree with that, I feel like blackmailing somebody where you threaten to tell their husband who could do something terrible that they're having an affair is genuinely a crazy thing to do. Now, obviously, there isn't too much evidence to back what Tammy is saying at this point of the timeline, but screenshots will come in this story for a lot of different things that Tammy has alleged about Amberlynn, and I'm just going to allow her to say her whole story here, and bearing in mind, this is quite a long clip, but I feel like the context is necessary.
So when I started getting these feelings, it was kind of like, what's going on, you know? Well, I ended up falling for him, and I ended up having an affair with him. And it was, like I say, very, very different for me. My character, it was just something that you don't really plan, but it happens. You know, people can hate me for it, but it happens all the time, and it happened to me. So, and at this time, I have kids still in the house, I have a couple grandkids. Like, it was a total secret kept from everybody. At that time, my sister's staying with me, and my sister doesn't know this is happening either. And I am going to come to the city. I'm living in the next city over. It's about a 15-minute drive. And I'm going to the city to go to karaoke, to see this man that I am falling in love with, also to be with my mom to sing. And my sister wants to come with me.
Did your mom know about the guy that you were flirting with at the time? Okay, so she knew.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, 100%. And she knew him a lot better than I did before I met him.
Okay.
So this particular night, and I'll admit, I got caught up in it. Yeah, I wanted to go see this man. I wanted to go see him, and my sister all of a sudden stopped, like, sister, I want to go. Please, let me just go. I just want to go. You know, I promise everything will be great. And being my sister, supposed to be your best friend, right? I took a chance. And I told my sister, okay, come on. And I took her in the van with me, and we're driving to the city, and I tell my sister what's going on. Sorry. I tell her what's going on because you're supposed to. I was living a life I didn't like living, but it was happening. And I kind of knew it couldn't keep happening, you know, because, again, not my character didn't feel good. So I opened up to my sister, and everything was good. Well, she tells Amber.
Oh.
And so I actually told the man the night before this happened, ironically. We were going on at about 3.5, 4 months at this time, seeing each other off and on whenever I had a chance. And so I finally tell this man, you know, I'm going to have to tell my husband. You know, we're not barely even talking, breathing the same air at this point. I'm not living like a double life, but, you know, I said, I have to tell my husband, you know, if we're going to do this, I got to own it, because either we're going to do it or we're not, you know. And we were talking about if we wanted to make a future together and all those things, you know. Right. So we're in the process of that. And that very next day is when Amber tried to blackmail me. And she said things like, and it was to try to get my sister to come live with me again, because I would not let her back in my home. She said, I wonder what your husband would think if she knew you were doing what you were doing with the karaoke guy. And that's how I knew she knew.
The very next day she told her, and then she used it against you.
The very next day she threatened because she knew, but joke was on her because, like I said, I had already told him the night before I was going to have to tell my husband. It was getting to that point. No, I did not expect it to be that next day by all means, but because of what Amber said, I told her, well, joke's on you, because I was going to tell him anyway. So I walked right into the next room and said, guess what? You were right. I am having an affair, and we're done.
Oh my gosh.
So it backfired on her, but the fact that she tried made me pretty sick, you know.
Now, firstly, I should just say that yes, this is an allegation and no proof was provided of what she is alleging here, but I should also say that yes, this is a terrible story, and it very much does seem that this has been something that has been boiling up behind the scenes for a very long time, and with Amberlynn in so much controversy, I imagine that Tammy saw it and thought she wants to get her opinion out there about her, I think, niece? I think that's what the relation is, aunt and niece, but yeah, this is obviously a very terrible thing that has supposedly happened, and this is something that keeps on happening with Amberlynn Reid. Someone from her personal life will randomly appear in the Amberverse, and they will explain that they've had very negative experiences with Amberlynn Reid in their private life. This is something that keeps on happening time and time again, except in this situation, it's a little bit unique because now we have a biological family member speaking up. But the allegations don't end there, because in this live stream as well, Tammy also brought up a situation of where Amberlynn's mother was in prison, and apparently Tammy and other family members were trying to get Amberlynn to help out, to contact her mum, and according to Tammy, Amberlynn says she wasn't even worth the post stamp.
When my sister was homeless on the streets, I yelled for her name at the top of my lungs for 8 solid months in very dangerous neighborhoods looking for my sister. I have the picture the day I found my sister. One of the happiest days of my life, but it's not even when she got well. It still took a while. It took her to go to prison. Amber loves to talk about that as the victim, even though she wouldn't even write my sister when she was in prison. I would beg her, write your mom. Get stamp. She wouldn't even buy Moral, I have the text. She's not worth the 42-cent stamp.
Again, I should just state that yes, there is no real proof of what she is saying here, but at the end of the day, I think it is a big signifier to how messy this situation is now getting. Her partners are speaking up, the internet is speaking up, and now even her biological family are speaking against her. Honestly, Amberlynn is in such a ridiculous position. It's genuinely gotten to, honestly, the most mental point I think it's ever been at for Amberlynn Reid, and that's quite ridiculous given how many situations Amberlynn has been involved in. And you may be thinking, well, how did Amberlynn Reid respond to these types of allegations that a family member actually speaking against her? Well, she once again fired up a 2-hour live stream, where once again she was responding to everything that her aunt had to say about her. She denied all of the things that Tammy said about her, and she even went on to state that Tammy is not well, and pretty much was trying to, I guess, get the audience to move away from Tammy because she was trying to position Tammy as this person who is clearly unhinged and mentally unwell. And after that, the situation just started to get even messier. Tammy went onto a community page where she was posting tons of screenshots about Amberlynn. She was clearly very, very angry about what Amberlynn had to say in her 2-hour live stream. But honestly, I feel like I'm going to have to leave that to a third and final part in this trilogy, because this story is still ongoing as I made this video, and I don't want to miss out details. So yes, firstly, tune in for part 3, which will be coming soon, and it is the greatest showdown of all, Amberlynn Reid versus the aunt of Amberlynn Reid. I don't really know how we've gotten to this point, and honestly, it is just getting ridiculous, but I'm gonna say that I have no shame, and honestly, it is quite entertaining. I can't lie. Like, somebody mentioned earlier in the comment section that this is something you just can't speak to a coworker about. And honestly, it is completely true. I can't speak to my friends about this. I can't speak to my family members about this. I can only speak to you guys about this situation. So yes, part 3 is coming. But to kind of conclude everything that we've gone through in today's video, in particular with Amberlynn and Emily, obviously, it does kind of seem that once again, their storyline has come to a close, and people out there are still speculating that yes, they may actually be in a relationship. And I think that really does summarize everything that we need to know about Amberlynn Reid. Despite multiple serious allegations that we went through today, despite the tears, the screaming, the exposés, it all just eventually ended in nothing ever happening. It's ridiculous, but it is just the Amberlynn Reid cycle. It continues and continues, and it really is never going to end. But who knows? Maybe this great showdown with Amberlynn's aunt will be the end of the cycle.